Vandy's rushing attack will provide lots of stress for LSU, maybe enough to tip the scales in Vandy's favor. Who knows?
You are Locked On Vandy, your daily podcast on the Vanderbilt Commodores, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into the Locked On Vandy podcast on the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Corey Burton. Thanks for making Locked On Vandy your first listen every single day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube as a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. So visit FanDuel.com to get started. Now, Vandy seems to be well-rested and prepared for LSU. So, bye-week goals, check. This game will be won in the trenches, and it will be dependent on guys winning 1v1 battles. That's on the perimeter as well, not only in the trenches, but this rushing attack will provide enough stress for LSU to make things difficult, and it could tip the scale in the favor of the Commodores. So let's look at this rushing attack, okay? And even with I still believe in this rushing attack, even with Diego Pavia possibly at 75, 80, 85%. This guy is tough as nails. I don't think he's going to be running away from people as he did at the beginning of the season, but he is a tough runner, and he is going to get back to that identity that I thought he was before the season started. There's going to be a good downhill in between the tackles type runner. I just don't think he has the gas in the tank to be able to beat guys to the edge. This is a fast defense, so I don't know that that's going to happen anymore for Diego Pavia. I think he's got to find other ways to be effective in the run game, and I think he can. And there's enough there to be able to do that. Option game will probably be his best chance of getting out on the edge, but Diego Pavia is no secret anymore, and people are going to be keying on him. So he's got to find other ways to affect this run game. So one of the things that Vandy's going to do, and I alluded to it on yesterday's episode, was that you may see more of a two-quarterback system. I hinted at this in the offseason. I didn't know if or when this would show up because Nate Johnson is who he is, and he's an effective runner, and he's somebody that's electric and fast and can do some things as well. So I thought maybe if things were equal or close to being equal coming out of fall camp, they would have some packages for Nate Johnson to come in and really affect the game with his explosiveness and really maybe even get into a two-quarterback system depending on how things were going with injuries and effectiveness and all that stuff. Up to this point, Diego Pavia has been unequivocally the guy. There's been no need for a two-quarterback system. Maybe last week, or maybe the last game against South Carolina, you probably could have incorporated a little bit more just to get somebody fresh out there on the field for some plays or for a series or two, or just something to be able to preserve Diego Pavia a little bit because he wasn't quite as effective because he was so beat up, and you could just see just the deterioration even throughout that game of what Diego Pavia. From what Diego Pavia was till what he became in that game. And it's just a lot of it's just wear and tear. So, but I think that Vandy, they're going to have a really good rushing attack. All right. They're going to have a really good game plan. They've had 2 weeks to kind of get ready for what LSU is doing. I think they have enough guys that, they can really do some things with 20 personnel. AJ Newberry and Cedric Alexander, Chase Gillespie, you could see him get some more run. I know him and Monty Jones got a lot of work during the bye week, so this was probably beneficial for them. I think they find ways to get those guys involved, Eli Stowers involved, and I think they're going to use fast screens and RPOs and option RPOs to be an extension of their run game because they're going to need it, right? They're going to need LSU to be on their heels a little bit. They're going to need them to be confused a little bit, and they're going to need them to be able to, create space by blitzing, by being undisciplined, and just not being able to tackle well on the defensive side of the ball for them. So, this is going to be a really big test to this rushing attack. This will be talent-wise an elite defense. Scheme-wise, not so much. I don't think they know what to do with the running quarterback. I don't think they know how to contain that. They've struggled with it, obviously, the last 3 weeks. Guys are slowly not buying in. They're buying out of this system. And it's just, I just don't understand with LSU's defense, just kind of how, I don't understand what they're trying to do. And that's a big part of this. And I think that's a big reason why they've struggled with quarterbacks, because now you have an extra blocker. Now you have to contend with, 10 guys on offense, 7 guys at the point of attack instead of 6 or 5 with some of these blocking schemes. You've got dynamic runners with these quarterbacks, so they're legitimate threats in their own right. And then you add an extra body and an extra blocker, somebody to help get them on the edge or up through the A gap and kind of weave through there untouched. Like I don't feel like Milroe was really touched all game long. They seem to kind of struggle with that kind of thing. And whether it's scheme wise, sometimes they're out of position. Sometimes they get got by these offensive linemen, which at the SEC level is kind of sad. Like you shouldn't be getting blocked like that. You shouldn't be getting sealed like that. You shouldn't be running and over aggressive and coming down to get yourself in those situations. I think the defensive coordinator, maybe at least against Florida, at least against Alabama, didn't have a feel for the game. I think blitzed himself out of some situations, or blitzed himself into some bad situations, so to speak. And, I think that's part of, that's like the defense's version of just not being in flow with the game. Like you knew what Milroe was going to do. You knew Alabama was going to try to run him because that's what he does best. Maybe he thought, okay, well, we've watched a bunch of Kalen DeBoer. He doesn't seem to want to treat Jalen Milroe like Jalen Milroe. He wants to treat him like Michael Penix. So I think he devised a plan with that. I think to stop Michael Penix, that game plan would have been amazing, right? I think they would have gotten in Penix's face. I think they would have knocked him down. I think they would have flushed him, got him out of rhythm. But too bad Michael Penix is on the Falcons roster right now, and he's not playing for Alabama. He didn't come to Alabama with Kalen DeBoer. They have Jalen Milroe, and I think Kalen DeBoer finally realized, hey, this Jalen Milroe guy is a pretty good runner. And I don't think LSU was ready for that. There's something not right with that staff. There's something not right with that roster and how they interact with the staff. I just think culture-wise, they're just not very mentally tough right now, which the worse you get with mental toughness and resiliency and being able to deal with adversity, I think the worse you're going to get at the basics at the point of attack, like blocking and tackling, right? Winning your one-on-one battle up front or making that tackle when you get in position. I just don't think they do that very well, and I don't think they're in good position. I don't think defensively they're very sound in a lot of their schemes. I don't think they have a feel on where to blitz and where teams want to attack you. Maybe they will have a good game plan this week against Vandy. Who knows? But they're licking their wounds right now, and that's a very important factor. They're licking their wounds. They are not feeling good about themselves. There's a lot of, as Kurt Page would say, emotional interference, which means they're more concerned with things out of their control than they are about things they can control. Like what they can control is, hey, I got a guard trying to block down on me, and I've got to not let him do that. But, screw Coach Kelly because he just yelled at me. I'm not going to win this battle. Or you got a receiver that's running open, doesn't get the ball, runs open again, doesn't get the ball, then pouts, and then runs his, just kind of half-asses his route a little bit. And then next thing you know, the ball comes to him and there's a turnover. And if he would have run his route at full speed, he would have caught it for a big play. But instead, he lets the fact that he doesn't feel like he's getting targeted affect the way he plays. This is why I think when fundamentals break down, the first thing to really, like if you have a team with a dynamic quarterback, that's usually the first thing to hit because teams don't know what to do with the extra blockers. Teams just can't seem to bring those guys down. And Milroe's a big dude. He's a tough dude. And he's a fast dude. And so he's tough to bring down with good teams, much less teams that aren't disciplined enough to make those fundamental plays. So in summary, I think this rushing attack, whether it comes from Pavia, Nate Johnson, Cedric Alexander, AJ Newberry, or you find some way to get one of these receivers or Eli Stowers involved in a fast screen that's supposed to serve as kind of a run game substitute. I think LSU is just right now, they're just discombobulated and they're not going to be able to make these plays. And I think this run game is going to provide a lot of stress. And LSU is a team that, let's face it, they can't handle a bunch of stress. So therefore, my hypothesis is that stress breaks them. And this run game is going to be successful because let's say Vandy gets the opening kickoff, they march it down 10 plays, 8 minutes off the clock, and they score a touchdown. Well, guess who's not in the game? The crowd. Guess who's booing? The crowd. Guess who's fighting on the sidelines? The players. Guess who is red-faced and matches this sign behind me? Brian Kelly. Guess who that's good for? Absolutely nobody. So it's going to be an interesting game. I think this is this is kind of tailor-made for what Vandy likes to do. Vandy's good at what LSU is not good at defending. So there you go. But yeah. However, all that said to say that this game's going to be won in the trenches. Okay. Let's just face it. It's the SEC. It's one in the trenches. I'll tell you why next. All right. Skylight. Man, are you tired of wasting money on useless clutter that no one really needs? Like a million picture frames. I know my mom, I went over to her house. She has a box that I couldn't like close the lid on of like picture frames. She can't put up all her picture frames. She needs an entire museum gallery to put up her picture frames. Right. So, and it's just like somebody, and you know what I did? I got her the perfect gift for her because a Skylight is the touchscreen digital photo frame that the whole family will love. It's the perfect gift, right? You can upload thousands of photos with your phone and watch them appear in seconds. And she has it. It's amazing. You just go to her house. It's right there on her end table and it just swipes through. And we send pictures all the time. So she has all the updated pictures. So it's really, really easy to use. Setup takes less than 60 seconds. I remember when I bought this for her, I just took it out of the box, set it up real quick. And there it was. Seamless sharing. When we set it up, before she turned it on, she had 20 pictures loaded up. It was amazing. We did it through the mobile app, and they give you an email address to send it to. We sent some to that as well before we got the app set up. So you can add photos straight from your phone from anywhere. It only takes a tap on your phone and send new photos to a frame across the country. It's the fastest and easiest way to keep loved ones in the loop. The touchscreen is a game changer. You can swipe through the photos, tap to see new photos sent, tap the heart button to say thank you to the sender. It looks beautiful in your home. Photos are displayed in HD resolution. You can choose between 5 different frame styles. Set it up in portrait or landscape mode. There's 2 sizes to choose from, the original 10-inch or the larger 15-inch gallery frame. They look perfect in any room and they can stand on their own, or you can easily mount them on the wall. It's better than social media. It's a great way to provide a private way to share photos without posting it to the world or having to print and share hard copies or store hard copies. Gift mode makes it very meaningful and personalized gift. You can preload it with memories without opening the box. Surprise them with old sentimental photos as soon as it's plugged in. Satisfaction is guaranteed. We're confident that you'll love Skylight. We offer free 120-day returns. It's a top-rated brand, over 1 million happy customers, thousands of 5-star reviews, and available in over 30 countries. It's recommended by the Today Show, Forbes, and New York Magazine, and more. So, and now, also, as a special limited time offer for our listeners, you get $20 off your purchase of a Skylight Frame when you go to skylightframe.com/college. That's SKYLIGHTFRAME.com/college. That's SKYLIGHTFRAME.com/college. Get $20 off your first purchase now at skylightframe.com/college. All right, this episode is also presented by FanDuel. Get ready to tackle NFL action and college football with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats. You can view live play-by-play and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. So just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. All right. Thanks for making Locked On Vandy your first listen each and every day. I appreciate you. If you need a second listen, check out Locked On SEC. Chris Gordy covers this conference phenomenally. And if you need a third listen, Locked On Ole Miss, Stephen Willis, my man, he does a great job. So check them out anywhere you get your podcast or on YouTube as part of the Locked On Podcast Network. So talking about the rushing attack. Well, guess what? If the rushing attack is going to be effective, it's going to have to happen in the trenches, right? So part of what made the Florida game really good, part of what made LSU effectively ineffective against Alabama, what made Alabama's run game unstoppable, what made Texas A&M so dang good, is their linemen blocked like crazy. They were all over the place. They were sealing guys. They were, the combo blocks were great. They were able to get double teams at the point of attack. They were able to move guys off the ball. They were able to catch them in blitzes, and just all they had to do was just stand in the way, and they couldn't do anything. All of those things just happened. And those offensive lines, they executed to perfection. And that's going to be one thing. And the biggest key to offensive line play, honestly, is communication. It's knowing, it's making the calls, it's communicating down the line based on how they look and how they move. And it's communicating between series as well. So you got the iPads, you're talking to them, you're like, hey, Stephen Hubbard's like, hey, Xavier, that's my bad on that. I should not have left so early to get up to the linebacker. I should have stayed with you on that one technique, and we could have driven right out of there. And Cedric could have cut back instead of staying play side and getting tackled for 2 yards. He could have cut back and got 15 yards. So that's my bad. We'll make this call, yada yada yada, and you tell me that, and we'll stay on the double team, and I won't come off. So it's those things, like the communication aspect of it just is paramount, because they have to be able to be there. They have to know where guys are going to end up. They have to be very anticipatory, because LSU's fast enough to really kind of break through some of that stuff. They're fast enough to really just say, you know what? Your blocking schemes mean absolutely nothing. And they're good enough to wreck those. And so if you don't communicate well, if you don't have guys prepared, if you're not if you're not trying to get a beat on how they're blitzing, it's over. So the main thing with offensive line play is communication. And I think they've done a really good job of that all year long. Chris Klanakis harps on that, and he harps on those guys playing together and understanding the blocking schemes. I think it's a lot because Vandy understands what they want to do, and they don't really it doesn't – I'm not in the meeting room, so I can't say this definitively, but the way they play it strikes me as if they don't really spend a whole lot of time on what the opponent's doing. They spend a lot of time on their technique. They spend a lot of time on their communication, and then they let everything else kind of sort itself out. They have their ways of communicating. Obviously, they look at how LSU's playing and lining up. But for the most part, they know they have a good sense of where guys are typically going to be, because, somebody has to be in that gap. So those guys are easily, they're communicating with each other for the most part. Against South Carolina, there were some breakdowns, and I think there were some fundamental breakdowns. But, this is going to be one of those things where in the trenches, they're going to have to really communicate, because this front seven, especially the interior defensive linemen, they can be had. They can be got. They just got to go get them. That's the name of the game. LSU can be gotten, so Vandy has to go get them. Now, let's flip sides of the ball. Defensively, this game for Vanderbilt will be won up front. can Vandy win their one-on-ones? Can they wreak havoc? Can they disrupt? Part of what they're going to be able to do, I see some chunk plays. I get it. I just don't think they're still overall effective in the run game. I don't think they are as effective as they want to be in the run game. I think there's some issues there where LSU, they really want to push the ball downfield, and I get it. I mean, you have guys that can go get the ball. You have guys like Kyron Lacey, and you have guys like Aaron Anderson that are really good, and you want to get the ball to him, and you have a quarterback that I feel like can throw it really well when he's in rhythm and when he's getting the ball out. So I think that for them, that's kind of how they get into a rhythm. So in order to break that rhythm, your defensive line is going to have to create pressure. They're going to have to push the pocket. They're going to have to get to Nussmeier. They're going to have to contain him in the pocket and get hits on him, get him to the ground, get some sacks. He'll turn the ball over, all right? Because he wants to get the ball in the space quickly. He doesn't want to hang on to it. But if you're physical, especially at the point of attack, and you're aggressive, there's a chance that you may be able to disrupt some throwing lanes, make him double clutch. And when he double clutches, when any quarterback double clutches, the percentage probability of throwing an interception goes way up. But it's going to be one of those things where LSU, they want a lot of space. They want you to respect Kyron Lacey and Aaron Anderson. But I think what this team has done really well of is disguising coverages. I think Vandy's done a really good job of disguising coverages all year for the most part. I think early on they were still trying to learn some things, so they weren't able to play as deceivingly or as deceptive as they wanted to. I think as the seasons wore on, you've seen those guys get more comfortable, those corners especially getting more comfortable playing, taking away that space a little bit and understanding where they need to end up. So they do things to be able to help themselves pre-snap and post-snap. So you're going to see a little bit better fundamentals there. You're going to see a little bit better of a game plan there. And so I just think closing down that space, crunching down that space for LSU, forcing them to burn you deep, which they're capable of doing. Kyron Lacey is a good receiver. Aaron Anderson is a good receiver. But they want to get the ball out quick. The longer Nussmeier has the worse decision he's going to make, the more careless he's going to get with the ball, and the better chance that this offensive line just isn't really going to be a holdup. All right. And you pair that with the fact that they're not running the ball great to begin with. And this team also, their mentality, as I said at the top of the show, their mentality is just not very good overall. Their defense, I know, is probably affected by that, affected by, some of the recent, butt kickings they've taken against athletic quarterbacks. Their LSU's offense also, I think there's a lot of frustrating things because they can't finish drives. They end up missing kicks, and they end up not getting points in situations where they should definitely get points, and they need to get points. They lost momentum against Florida because they couldn't finish a drive and they couldn't make a kick. And Nussmeier, I think, turned it over a couple times as well. I mean, there's just some things that are working against LSU. You throw in some bad luck, you throw in some poor decision-making, and you throw in the fact that Vandy's going to get their plays because they throw the kitchen sink at you and they play super aggressive anyway. So when you play super aggressive, you're going to get your plays. It's just a matter of how impactful are those plays? What can you do with those plays? And when you make those plays, can you, on the really, really big ones like the turnovers, the loss of downs, can your offense help you make the team pay for those mistakes? If any of that sounds true, then that's kind of where LSU's defense is at. So, but this game's going to be won in the trenches. That's all there is to it. So what's really going to help Vandy is this injury report super, super clean. So they met their goal of keeping guys healthy coming out of the bye week. So we'll talk about how they did that next. All right, this episode is presented by Prize Picks. You know, Prize Picks is the best place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot up to win 100 times your cash. Run your game all season long on Prize Picks. So I love Prize Picks. I love doing the over-under. I won on a few, like I did it over for Joe Mixon on rushing yards. He hit that easily, right? He hit easily. So you can now, with Evergreen, you can now win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks with as little as 4 correct picks. Prize Picks is the best way to get action on sports in over 30 states, including California, Florida, Georgia, and Texas. Prize Picks is the only real money daily fantasy platform with injury insurance policy so that your lineup stay in play even if one of your players gets injured. If your player leaves in the first half and doesn't return, Prize Picks keeps your lineup live. Prize Picks is the best place to get real money sports action. Join over 10 million users and sign up today. Prize Picks invented the flex play, which means you can still cash out if your lineup isn't perfect. You can add double your money, and even if one of your picks doesn't hit. So Prize Picks puts their members first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. When my pick hits, I can get my money as quick as 15 minutes. And Prize Pick now offers Venmo for quick and easy deposits and withdrawals into your account this sports season. So sign up today, get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's just guaranteed. So Prize Picks also offers weekly promotions that can lead to big payouts like Taco Tuesday. Each Tuesday, Prize Picks discounts select players' projections up to 25% to provide even more value to your lineup. So think Justin Jefferson will get more than 83.5 yards next week. Lamar Jackson will pass for more than 1.5 touchdowns. Cook up your hot takes with all your friends and win real money this football season when you and your crew run your game on Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the best way to win real money this football season, which players are going off, which aren't all that good stuff. So make sure you go and join Prize Picks today. Do not miss out. PrizePicks.com. All righty, wrapping up the show here, Locked On Vandy. Thanks for making us your first listen each and every day. And if you're listening to this and you're a morning person and you're not eating Creefall bagels, you should. You're missing out. Ben Cornfield does a phenomenal job. He's the owner-operator of Creefall Bagel. They have my favorite bagel combination is this. Me and my wife will split these. We'll go halfsies on these. A cheddar bagel with bacon, egg, and cheese, and the cinnamon sugar bagel with maple walnut schmear. Schmear is the cream cheese. Holy Toledo, Batman. Those sandwiches are good. And there's a million other good things that they do there. So you should go check them out. Creefall Bagel. Creefall Bagel Company. So talking Vandy, trench warfare, rushing attack, all that stuff. It's all going to tie in to what Vandy ultimately wants to do. But their main goal to finish out the season was to get healthy. And I think that strategy worked. And we'll see just how it works because, not only does Vandy need to get healthy, which their injury report does look pretty clean, that they needed to develop depth as well. So what they did, and that I loved, was they took all of these young guys, developmental guys, down the line guys, and they got all the reps in practice. All the starters and heavy rotation guys, they mostly sat out. They got their work. They got their training. They got their lifting. They got some of their practice work, but a lot of the reps went to the younger guys or the down the depth chart guys. And so it's just something that I thought was a really brilliant strategy to not only get guys healthy, but build quality depth. And that's what they're going to need. In the springtime, I think they're going to have a more constructed roster right now. This was the thing coming into the season. I was like, well, if Vandy's going to struggle at all, this is a good lineup. But if they're going to struggle at all, it's going to be because some of these guys get banged up and they just don't have anything underneath that, right? And that's the truth. And it's no shot at any guys. They just don't have the elite depth that these other SEC programs do. But with the transfer portal, it's becoming more and more equalized. with the depth, right? You're not getting, 5-star third string guys because those guys are transferring. That 5-star third stringer at Georgia is going to transfer somewhere else. That 4-star linebacker from Tennessee is going to be, if he's sitting a third string, he's going to be at North Carolina next year, like those type of things. So I think developing that depth is good. I think having that during the season is good because you're going to need that. Like Nick Rinaldi, didn't think he was going to make an impact, but he did. So here we go. That's why these type of things are important. And that's why taking care of business to blow out opponents is also important because you've got to have opportunities for these guys to play in games. And there just hasn't been too many of those. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. Vandy's done a phenomenal job this season, so it's going to be a fun way to kind of just start this last 2-game stretch before bowl season. So that being said, that's all I got for you guys today. Enjoy, anchor down, behave yourselves. We'll see you back here next time on the Locked On Vandy podcast. We'll get you into the weekend, get you ready for the game, and that will be that. Anchor down, behave yourselves. Peace.